All right, so what we're going to do is explore some basics of lighting. Um, the first thing we want to do is go up to the top and do window and go down to rendering, and you'll see lighting and lighting explorer. So if you click on light explorer, what's really cool about this is it shows us and we can select which lights are in our scene. So you could see there's a spotlight here that we had put on in a previous tutorial to highlight where this character's body is. And then we had the sun that we use to control where our what time of day it is. And this is sort of a standard URP thing. So you can see as I control this, it acts as the sun. And I named it sun. Yours might be called directional light. And we can actually change the way this gizmo works by changing it from local to global. And it'll sort of correspond to the way the world is. So it's kind of another way of sort of controlling that. And we could also use light for things like framing, right? So say I really want to bring attention to this character here. I can use these two shafts from the window to highlight when my character walks in the room where this character is. You know, it'll automatically draw attention. It sort of creates these barn doors. And lighting is great too because it forms this it helps us show people what kind of game or movie we're making. So if it's bright, for instance, you might make it a comedy. Now, sometimes whenever I'm working on lighting, I usually keep my light explorer open because you can change the type of light. So I'll often just dock it somewhere on my scene. A lot of times I usually just sort of put it inside of my game view at the bottom because, you know, this is my canvas, is my scene view. You can also just kind of dock it in the hierarchy, which is fine too. But the problem with that is, well, the benefit is you end up getting these nice little tabs you can switch between, but you don't get as much room as if you're like sort of sharing it with the game view. So it's really just up to you how you want to do this. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll keep this open, and then whenever I really truly need to get into my game view, I just leave it as play maximized. And then, I just let it kind of maximize on play. So you can see here, like just by doing that little adjustment, you can see, yep, look at that. It does draw my attention initially. All right, let's take a look at another area that we can adjust lighting. And if we go to rendering and lighting here, now we use this one to adjust various scene level settings as we work. So it's helpful to keep this open too in the docket. So you can do something like this where you dock all of your lighting stuff next to each other, or you can keep it on the same panel where you can flip between these tabs. And if it's easier, we can do, let's see. I mean, you can also save your layouts and just make one whole layout just for lighting. So you can close your hierarchy tab, all this other stuff, and then you can use this as your hierarchy tab just for lighting, which is kind of nice. You can also do stuff like this. I mean, it's whatever is easier for you. So like, something like this if you like, and just switch between them. I'm assuming that this might be the easiest way for newcomers, new people to Unity. So maybe I'll do it this way for now. So we're going to talk about um, really the next thing that we should talk about is real time versus baked lighting. If you recall, we created this spotlight before that's on top of our character. And as I move this around, notice that it reacts in real time to the object in the scene. So what this means is as it's moving in the editor, like a flashlight or whatever, this can work in real time. And then you might hear baked or static lights, and this is a way of taking lighting information and baking it to a texture. We do that because the more real-time lights you have in the scene, the more of a hit and performance that your game takes. So that's why we tend to bake all the lighting, which makes the lighting information in the scene. We're gonna actually bake out some lighting in the tutorial, but overall, like as I duplicate this, you can also notice in here under the graphics performance, if I delete it, that number goes up and down. And so, oops, let's duplicate this. So you can see as I'm moving this around, my performance sort of starts to take a hit depending on where it is. So as mentioned before, if we select our sun, I think yours is going to be named directional light. I just renamed mine. So in Unity, whenever we create a scene, it comes with this directional light, and it's already added to our hierarchy. And this light functions as our sun or our moon. Now, the directional light casts straight parallel rays of light in the direction. And this is indicated by this gizmo here. And you can see that we also have these lines here that represent that. Now, in reality, if we look at our spotlight here, I'm going to hit F to focus on that. Light rays want to spread out. So you can see here that they're spread out across like this. With a sun, that's not the case because it wants to light the entire scene at once. And that's why it operates or functions like our sun. Now, you can control what sort of effects, for instance, our skybox or things that we see in our scene by clicking on this guy here. So if we click on this, make sure that your skybox is checked on. So if you're like looking at things and you're like, why is there, it's only gray here? You want to make sure this is checked on. And it should be checked on by default inside of Unity. So make sure inspector is open. And as we select our sun here, let's take a look at some of its parameters. Under emission here, this is where we can actually adjust the color of the light that's coming out of our scene. So you can see here I can tint it red, I can tint it blue if it's like more of a cold or murky day. If you leave it white, it's just going to be like, it's going to make things feel a bit washed out, which is what comes with it. You can also control the temperature here. It's another way of tinting the light itself. And color temperature just deals with warmer light, which is more of an orange or sun, and then a cooler light. Now, you might be wondering, well, what if I want to do a night scene? What is this weird, like, skybox here? Well, inside of Unity, if you remember, we have this lighting panel here. There's these baked light maps, environment, real time. You could see when you click on environment, you can go to default and click on skybox. Now, it comes by default with this particular skybox. You can actually go to the asset store and download free skyboxes for nights and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and just show you that. Actually, let me go to window and then I'm going to click on asset store. And then I'm going to search online. This is their kind of their default way to point you to the online asset store. All right, so here I am. I just went ahead and typed in Skybox here. And if you go over to the side here, there's a bunch you can buy. There's some free ones. So for instance, there's this fantasy one for free. If you go to pricing here and you just bring this all the way down to 0, you can see all the free ones that are out there. Let's go ahead and click this arrow to search. These look pretty cool. I mean, I'm just looking for something that matches our mystery game, our robot game. And our robot game is a little bit more stylized. So let's go ahead and go with, let's go with this. This might match our robot game. It's stylized to realistic. I'm gonna go ahead and click add to my assets. I'm gonna hit accept and then open in Unity. And as long as your project is open, it should open it in the editor. And then here's Milky Way Skybox. Go ahead and hit download and then import. And let's go ahead and import this to our scene. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to close the asset store here. So you might be like, well, nothing happened. And actually in our project panel, which is down here, we should now have a Milky Way scenes folder. And within this, if we're in our lighting panel, if you click on this, it should automatically load that in there for you, which, let's scroll all the way up. See if we can find that. Here we go. Milky Way. So if we select that, now you could see we have this night sky. And as we play our game and I look around, you can see that's all here. Now we might want to lock our camera so it never goes below the ground plane, but so now that's essentially how you can adjust your skybox. So I would say for the first part of this lesson, go ahead and go online to the asset store and find another skybox that you want to change your scene to. Also notice that it affected my lighting just while we're here. And you could see like it's sort of missing our lighting asset. So if you go in here and you select these two here, which we're going to get into later, these are sort of our settings. We can actually adjust it in our scene. The other thing is under environment. It seems to have a problem with our sunlight. So let's go ahead and select our sun. I'm going to go ahead and hit F to focus on that. And we might have to tweak it a little bit because this particular skybox isn't taking into account like bounce light or shadows. And let's see what else is inside of here. Here's our Milky Way material. And I believe, so this also might be a little bit of an older, yeah, that's what it's bringing in there is that Milky Way. It might be a little bit of an older material. So I'm just going to run with it and work with this one. Then we'll talk about bounce lighting and stuff in our scene.